Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamlam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijan Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusuta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarupascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, thank you all for coming. A quick announcement that on this Sunday, 8th of March, daylight savings time changes in Toronto. We fast forward our clocks 1 hour, which means for devotees in India and Nepal, as well as for RIA in Australia, the class will start 1 hour early. Now, for devotees in India and Nepal, is going to become a very odd time, slightly odd time. So what I request is that if we can continue Bhagavad Gita classes, which are 2 classes left over for finishing Bhagavad Gita, and then when we'll start Nectar of Instruction from 27 March, we'll switch the time to 9 p.m. Toronto time, which will be a little reasonable for devotees in India, Nepal at least. So as you can see on the screen, that from 27 March, we will start Nectar of Instruction and then Nectar of Devotion, Ch11 and Bhagavatam will follow one after the other. So for the 2 classes left over on Bhagavad Gita, we'll stick with the same time, even though the time is a little odd for devotees in India. So you can see on the screen that we will change the time to 9 p.m. Toronto time starting 27th March when we start Nectar of Instruction onwards other scriptures. So I request all devotees from India, Nepal at least, to tolerate the time for the 2 leftover classes for Bhagavad Gita. So all of you should have the books that you have on the screen from Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Devotion, Ch11, Bhagavatam. You can discuss with me. You don't have to rush. Discuss. Yeah, you should have Bhagavatam with you, but have a discussion with me. Now, those devotees who are in the catch-up mode yet, you can please have an offline discussion with me. At least I can see Lalita Mataji present here, who is at us getting caught up from the start. Shrivanshi also has few left over. There are a few others also. So those who are in the catch-up mode can please have a quick offline discussion with me. So on On the last class of Bhagavad Gita, I will explain the new process we'll be following, where you'll be listening to recordings of the previous path. So we'll leave it for that later. You devotees can please have an offline chat with me for those who are in the catch-up mode, and I'll discuss the one-on-one with you. Any questions, comments, realizations? So today, we will first revise Bhagavad Gita chapters 11, 12, 13, and 14. And then we will discuss few verses from chapter 18 Bhagavad Gita, just to lay the foundation for our next heavy discussion. So we'll hear from few devotees, and some will be doing live presentations as well. So we'll start chapter 11. Shruti is going to present. Let's hear from Shruti.
Hare Krishna, requesting permission from all devotees, Prabhuji, Srila Prabhupada, all gurus in disciplic succession, and Sri Sri Radha Krishna to summarize Bhagavad Gita chapter 11 titled Vishwarupa Darshan Yoga, English title The Universal Form. Please forgive me for all shortcomings. Chapter 10 ends with Krishna explaining his vibhutis and how with a single fragment of his he pervades them all and supports the entire universe. So chapter 11 starts with Arjuna acknowledging Krishna's vibhutis, glories, and wishing to see how Krishna has entered this cosmic manifestation. Only if Krishna thinks Arjuna can behold the universal form. Like previous questions and requests from Arjuna, this request also teaches us many soft skills like being humble and practicing humility. Later in this chapter, he also demonstrates what to do when we go to get Lord's darshan at temple or while praying. Krishna first briefs Arjuna about the universal form so that he can make sense of what he was about to see and grants him a divine vision. The universal form is revealed 9 times, 6 times with only space aspect and 3 times with both space and time aspect. Arjuna is the first one to see the universal form with both time and space aspect. The universal form is not eternal. That means it doesn't exist in any of the spiritual worlds, unlike the other forms of Krishna. Universal form is manifested when universe is manifested and annihilated once the universe is fully annihilated. Universal form is Achinta Beda Abeda Tattva, which means the universal form exists simultaneously with Krishna's original Shyam-Sundar form and is a personal form. Bhagavad Gita's universal form is a revelation, and the entire universe is contained within the universal form of Lord, whereas Srimad Bhagavatam universal form is conceptual and describes the universe as form of Lord to help materialistic people to take first step towards spirituality. Once Krishna reveals the universal form, Sanjaya provides description to Dhritarashtra that Arjuna saw the universal form with unlimited mouths, hands, bellies, eyes, etc. Unlimited expansions of the universe situated in one place, and everything was so wondrous, like if thousands of suns were to rise at once in the sky. Arjuna describes the universal form vision from the bottom, where the Anantasheshas holding the universe, all the way to the top, where Lord Brahma is sitting on the lotus flower, and everything in between, including all demigods, praying to the universal form, folding their hands, and also the Kurukshetra war field, where Bhishma, Drona, all son of Dhritarashtra, etc., and his own chief soldiers as well, getting killed by rushing into the universal form's fearful mouths. Here, Arjuna also mentions an analogy of a river flowing into the ocean and moths rushing into blazing fire. When rivers flow into the ocean, they nourish the land along the way and retain its original nature even after joining the ocean. Likewise, devotees continue to serve the Lord by practicing Bhakti Yoga, setting an example for others, and after death, they transition to the spiritual world and continue to practice Bhakti Yoga. Whereas a moth voluntarily rushes to the fire, burns its body, and repeats the cycle of birth, disease, and death in the material world. Similarly, materialistic people death is not transitional. Apart from losing all their material possessions, they continue with the cycle of birth, disease, and death with a new body. Arjuna, after seeing the universal form devouring all people from all sides, gets bewildered and his mind is disturbed with fear and asks the universal form, "Who are you? What is your mission?" Which is why Acharyas have also explained that the universal form is not important for devotees because it is difficult to develop an intimate devotional relationship with the form. To Arjuna's question, the universal form responds, "I am time, and I have come here to destroy all people except for Pandavas. All soldiers on both sides will be slain irrespective of whether Arjuna you choose to fight or not. So, Arjuna, be nimitta matram, just an instrument in this war to fight and win glory." This verse is also a subtle hint for all of us to understand how insignificant our ego is in this infinite universe created by the Lord. After hearing this, Arjuna glorifies the Lord, offers his prayers, begs for forgiveness for all his previous behaviors toward Krishna, and offers obeisances. This universal form vision has the effect of changing Arjuna's rasa from Sakya to Dasya and then to Shanta rasa. Arjuna then requests the universal form to show his four-handed Chaturbhuja form of Vishnu and then the original two-handed Sham Sundar form. Krishna then shows both forms and explains that no one can see his original Sham Sundar form neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing the sacrifices, nor by charity, nor by pious activities, and nor by severe penances. Only one who is friend with everyone, engages in Ananya Bhakti, and makes Krishna a supreme goal of his or her life can see his form, understand Krishna, and certainly go back to him. So, chapter 11 starts with the revelation of the universal form and ends with the culmination of Ananya Bhakti. Hare Krishna.
Super excellent. Any questions, comments, realizations for Shruti? All right. Shruti has already done a very good presentation on the difficult chapter 11. I will also quickly summarize, although Shruti has already done a very good presentation. So chapter 11 is titled The Universal Form, Vishwarupa Darshan Yoga. Arjuna phrases his request to see the universal form in a very humble mood. Arjuna says, "O my Lord, it is possible for you to show the universal form. But the question is whether it is possible for me to see." Humility and pride, the difference is that humility begs and waits, pride demands and complains. Therefore, Arjuna is phrasing his request in a humble mood by saying that, "My Lord, if you think I am qualified, then please grant me darshan. Krishna first describes the universal form rather than just showing the universal form, because Arjuna can then make sense of what he is going to see, because he does not have any reference. Nobody has seen the universal form before. Arjuna is not interested to see the universal form for himself. Arjuna requested to see the universal form for benefit of others, primarily so that people can have a standard by which to know who is really God and who is not God. Acharyas have described that this divine vision granted to Arjuna for seeing the universal form is actually a downgrade of the vision, because Arjuna has pure devotional vision where Arjuna can see Krishna in his original Shyam Sundar form. The vision given to Arjuna to see the universal form is called divine from the perspective of normal humans who have normal material world vision only. Bhagavad Gita's universal form is a revelation. Bhagavad Gita's universal form is a real form but not eternal, meaning there is no loka in the spiritual world where the universal form exists forever. All other forms of God, they exist eternally in the spiritual world. The universal form gets annihilated when the full annihilation happens for the universe. Universal form is revealed 9 times. 6 times the universal form without the Kala Rupa, plus 3 times the universal form including the Kala Rupa. And on the other hand, Srimad Bhagavatam's universal form is just a concept. Srimad Bhagavatam's universal form is neither real nor eternal. Srimad Bhagavatam's universal form compares big things in the material world to be as if they are the form of the Lord's body, just so as to elevate the materialistic people from their materialistic vision to moving their vision towards spirituality. Srila Prabhupada calls God's display of opulences as godless display of opulences, because this is the vision of a pure devotee. Devotee and even God is not interested in display of power. God and devotees are interested in loving reciprocation. While with the universal form, it is very hard to reciprocate. How are you going to put a dhoti onto the universal form? How are you going to hold the universal form like a baby? The only reciprocation with the universal form is offer obeisances. Then Sanjaya also describes the universal form as having unlimited mouths, unlimited eyes, and gives the comparison as if thousands of sun have risen at the same time to describe the effulgence of the universal form. And then Arjuna also describes the universal form, and Arjuna's description of the universal form is the most detailed. Arjuna sees within the body of the fierce universal form entire universe, from the bottom Anantashesh holding the universe to the top Brahmaji is sitting, and everything in between. Arjuna sees many mouths, many bellies, glaring effulgence, all soldiers on both sides getting devoured by the universal form. Arjuna describes two analogies, very important analogies. One is rivers flowing into the ocean. So when a river flows to the ocean, the river's nature continue to stay the same. The river is water before, while it's flowing is water, and the ocean continues to stay as water. Similarly, the devotees of the Lord, they are serving Krishna in this world. When they return back after their death, to go back to Godhead, they continue to serve Krishna, meaning when they reach the ocean or when they reach Krishna, they continue to serve the Krishna. And also that when the rivers are flowing to the ocean, the river nourishes the land on the way. Similarly, when devotees are in this world serving the Lord, they are moving towards the Lord, and while moving towards the Lord, devotees are benefiting all others in the material world by their preaching endeavor. The second analogy is moths rushing to fire. The moth's body is burned, the soul inside moth is not destroyed. The soul has to go to another body for his continued existence. So those who are materialistic people, when death comes, they are destroyed. Yes, they continue to take birth in another body, but all possessions, opulences, everything is destroyed. And when moth is moving towards the fire, the moth does not do any good to anyone, neither to self, nor to others. He's just getting destroyed. Arjuna asks the universal form, "Who are you? And what is your mission?" The universal form responds, "Time I am, and I have come here to destroy all." And Supreme Personality of Godhead's instruction is, "Become my instrument." And the universal form says to Arjuna that, "Arjuna, even if you don't fight, I have come to destroy all." Arjuna offers prayers to the universal form. So we have learned the process that when God comes in front of us, what to do. Arjuna follows that same process. That first is glorification. Next, he offers obeisances. Then he asks for forgiveness, for taking the Lord for granted. Then he asks for spiritual benediction, that please show me the four-handed Vishnu form and then the two-handed Shyam Sundar Saumya Rupa. The last section of this chapter is that pure devotion alone grants all visions, whether of the universal form or of the two-handed form. By these four ways of studying Vedas, doing tapasya, doing charity, doing worship, by these four ways, Krishna cannot be known as is seen by Arjuna. Krishna's two-handed Shyam Sundar form is the highest, and that can be known only by bhakti. Srila Prabhupada says that the last verse in chapter 11.55, is the sum and substance of Bhagavad Gita. So verse number 53 says, by other paths, one cannot know Krishna. Verse number 54 says that by bhakti alone, one can know Krishna. And the verse number 55 says, how to come to Ananya Bhakti so that one can know Krishna is by doing Krishna's work. You start wherever you are and you keep progressing on bhakti. So chapter 11 starts with a revelation of God, and chapter 11 culminates in pure devotion. That's a quick summary of chapter 11. Questions, comments, realizations? All right, Padma Kumar Prabhu is going to present chapter 12.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I ask the permission of the devotees, Srila Prabhupada and Sri God Sri Sri Radha Krishna to present the chapter 12, Bhakti Yoga. So the Bhakti Yoga is differentiated into three parts. 1 to 7 is the personal form, 8 to 12 is the progressive stage of Bhakti, and 13 to 20 the qualities that Krishna like to see in his devotee. It starts with Arjuna inquiring which is the most perfect, engaging in devotional service or worship the impersonal Brahman. Both the worship are on transcendental path. So which is the best among these two? This is the first question he's asking. Krishna is replying, making it completely clear that one should worship the personal form, removing all confusion. So thereby, with the word is in the verse is showing Mam and Maya. That means upon me and me. So it means worship Lord Krishna only. Even a devotee becomes transcendental through the various process of Bhakti Yoga. Still, he has to remain fixed his mind on Krishna only. So Krishna himself has to be worshipped, not any Rupa or any avatar. So this is how it's being described in verse 2. Verse 3 talks about the non-manifested form of Brahman. He gives the qualities about them. And then in 4, he describes that Jnana Yogi also will come to me, but it is a difficult and misery process to follow because it has to be centered on equanimity and equal vision towards everyone and everything. Trying to concentrate the mind on nothing or formless progress is difficult for the embodied soul. Thus, he describes this 3 and 4 verse, and then on comes to 5. And then on 6, he talks about worship. Because in saying in worship, the devotee will do all the activity to me, meditate upon me, and worship me. But in reciprocation, God is the swift deliverer of birth and death. Now it comes to the progressive stage of bhakti. The first and the most important stage is to fix the mind upon Krishna, intelligence upon Krishna. Thereby you will live with him always without a doubt. There is no doubt about it. Then comes the next stage, which the stages keep going down and down and down. The next stage is if you cannot fix the mind on Krishna, then follow the principles of sadhana bhakti. The sadhana bhakti is the process of to cleanse the heart, remove sense enjoyment, awakening the soul, dormant love for the Supreme. So when the sadhana bhakti is done under a spiritual guru, then thus desire is being developed for Lord Krishna. The next step, if you cannot do sadhana bhakti, God is saying to do mat karma pramo bhava. So he is talking about you just work for me, and by working for me, you will get the perfect stage. So in bhakti, in working for Krishna, there are two stages. One is directly working for Krishna, like doing temple work, book distribution, or doing prasadam, cleaning of temple. Or indirect work is like you work in the world, but give money for charity, build a Krishna temple, social service, community service. So those kind of two divisions are there for working for Krishna. So then in the end, he talks about the next verse. So if you are not able to work, then try to give up all the results of your work. So it's talking about Niskam Karma Yoga, where we are renunciation of all the fruit of our actions. That completes the second section, and then we are going to the third section. It's called the qualities that Krishna like to see in his devotees, like to be non-envious, but a friend, think himself not to be a proprietor, free from false ego, equal in both happiness and distress, tolerant, satisfied. And there are 24 different qualities he describes in the next 5 verses of this. Verse 15, like you should not be put anyone to difficulty and not disturbed by anyone. So we are always compassionate to all the people, all the devotees, non-devotees, and not disturbed, because we are living in this world. The world might be against us preaching Krishna consciousness. So we are still compassionate and remain tolerant. And then we have to renounce both auspicious and inauspicious things which are in the material world, which has no meaning to us. We are looking at the spiritual world, and thereby he's talking about few more qualities about happiness, distress, fame, infamy, which is free from contaminants, association, silent, satisfied. And in the last verse, he affirms that devotional service is towards with great faith, and making Krishna as the supreme goal is very, very dear to him. Now coming back to verse 12, verse 12 has a difference in Karma Yoga path. It looks like Abhyasa of the Bhakti Yoga is first, then knowledge, Jnana Yoga, then Dhyana Yoga, and then renunciation of fruits of action. So it looks like the yoga ladder is flipped here, like it is gone upside down. So this Abhyasa is taken and given a new meaning from verse 10, where it is shown that is just a practice. So it can be Karma Yoga, Niskam Karma Yoga, Karma Kanda, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, in that any of those. And that way, and then this Karma Phala Tyag is showing from verse 10, that where it's showing that Mat Karma follow this thing. Mat Karma Paramo Bhava. So in that way, when we work for Krishna, this Mat Karma Paramo Bhava, our work becomes a devotional service for Krishna. So when we give the renunciation of the fruit, also becomes dear to Krishna. So that way the yoga ladder is rearranged to make it proper. But I have a different view on this. It looks like that verse 12 can be described as an or statement, like it can be abhyas or cultivation of knowledge or meditation or renunciation of fruit. So it's a or statement instead of being a ladder. It's on a plain level. And thereby I'm ending this chapter 12 presentation. Hare Krishna.
All right, very good. Any questions, comments, realizations for Padma Kumar Prabhu? So, two clarifications or 2 points that I will add. One point that Padma Kumar Prabhu said that when he's describing the progressive stages of bhakti for verses 8 to 12, the last, where he said that any work in the material world, he referred to humanitarian also as Krishna conscious. So humanitarian work by default does not become Krishna conscious. Yes, it is in the mode of goodness, but that does not become Krishna's work directly, or even indirectly can, but does not become Krishna's work. And the second point about what Padma Kumar Prabhu said about the yoga ladder, his different view, that instead of the ladder and you call it as or. So the yoga ladder is given by Krishna, like the verses 8 to 12 in chapter 12. The descending ladder of bhakti is given by Krishna. So we cannot change what Krishna has given us. But we have to understand what Krishna is trying to explain to us with the descending ladder of bhakti, that Krishna is trying to incorporate anybody and everybody within the realm of bhakti. I'm hoping that is helpful. Padma Kumar and everybody.
Prabhu,
Yeah.
I want just because this verse had a lot of confusion for me. So I asked one more devotee. He gave me the example that Bhakti Yoga is mango, then other yogas are all different fruits. So if we cannot get to mango, you can eat another fruit or another fruit or another fruit. He gave me an example of orange, pineapple, like that. For Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, meditation, Dhyana Yoga. So he say, okay, if you cannot, at least you do this or this or this, like that. Like an or process. Only for 12 he's talking about,
And
not about not
and
about the other verses. No,
so
that's a perfect ladder. Yeah.
so the explanation that you got from the other devotee is absolutely incorrect.
Okay.
Bhakti Yoga, we don't have to go to other processes first. No, that is absolutely incorrect. We have discussed this at great length in our classes that to come to Bhakti Yoga, we don't need to purify ourselves from some other processes and then come to Bhakti Yoga. No. Other processes are there. We have discussed at great length at Yoga Ladder that other processes you can follow and they stop in between. If they don't take you any further, you are still at a loss. So the only way to get to the highest spiritual realization of bhakti or attaining Bhagwan realization is through bhakti. You don't need to go to other processes. So you don't need to take other fruits. That's an absolute incorrect response that you got.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Right. Everybody on the same page? Yeah, and Padma Kumar Prabhu, you are correct that verse number 12 in chapter 12 is significantly complex verse. We have discussed at great length that in the entire 700 verses, 12.12 is the single most complex verse in Bhagavad Gita, and Srila Prabhupada has given us a brilliant solution by saying that Mat Karma Bhava refers to Krishna's work, that when you are working for Krishna, that is Bhakti Yoga. And that's how the yoga ladder is appropriate when you follow what Srila Prabhupada has given us a brilliant solution. Everybody on the same page? All right, let me quickly summarize chapter 12 as well. Chapter 12 is titled Devotional Service. In Sanskrit is Bhakti Yoga. At the start, Krishna establishes that worship of his personal form is superior to the worship of impersonal Brahman. So worship of the personal form and the worship of impersonal Brahman are both valid forms. Both are transcendental paths. Krishna states in crystal clear and explicitly that worship of his personal form is better. Krishna does not speak anything negative about those who worship the impersonal aspect of the absolute truth. And Krishna's response for the second alternative, meaning the worship of the impersonal aspect, is also crystal clear that it is very difficult. Because it is difficult to concentrate on the impersonal aspect which has no form. Progress is very troublesome, specifically for those who are embodied. Example is, it is difficult to create a vacuum and it is even more difficult to sustain a vacuum. Similarly, meditating on the impersonal aspect is like creating a vacuum in my consciousness. It is very difficult. And with a tiny tinge of air, the vacuum will be broken. Similarly, a, a tiny desire comes into the consciousness or my mind flickers and my attainment of that Brahman effulgence level is lost. Therefore, Krishna says, those who offer all activities to me, meditate upon me, worship me, for them, I am the swift deliverer. Then Krishna provides a progressive stage of bhakti, meaning Krishna provides in verses 8, 9, 10, and 11 a descending ladder that starts from the highest level of fixing mind on Krishna and keeps going down and down and down so that anybody and everybody can practice bhakti. In 12.8, Krishna says, offer mind and intelligence to me entirely and thereby you will live with me. So 12.8 is the highest level, is at pure devotional level. And then in 12.9, Krishna says, if you cannot fix your mind on Krishna, on me, then practice sadhana bhakti. Now this is very important. Why we are practicing sadhana bhakti? Krishna says, practice sadhana bhakti to increase our desire for Krishna. And if you cannot practice sadhana bhakti, then in 12.10 Krishna says, then work for me. And to make it even easier for those who cannot do any of the above, in 12.11 Krishna says, if you cannot do any of the above, then give up the fruits of all your work. Now, 12.12 is the single most complex verse in the entire Bhagavad Gita, and a literal read of 12.12 can be confusing, where it will appear that the normal yoga ladder is inverted, that will appear a literal read of 12.12 will seem like Bhakti Yoga is at the bottom, then next level up is Gyan Yoga, then next level up is Ashtanga Yoga, and the highest is Karma Yoga. It literally is upside down. And Srila Prabhupada has provided a brilliant solution by changing the referent. So 12.12 says, Abhyas is lowest, next level up is Gyan Yoga, next level up is Ashtanga Yoga, and next level up is Karma Phalatyag. So from the discussion of 12.8 to 11 verses, it may appear that Abhyas refers to devotional service and Karma Phalatyag refers to Karma Yoga. Hence, the literal read of 12.12 inverts the normal yoga ladder upside down. That it seems that Abhyas, devotional service, is at the lowest. Next level up is Gyan Yoga. Next level up is Ashtanga Yoga. And next level up, Karma Phalatyag, is Karma Yoga. It literally is upside down yoga ladder. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada has given us a brilliant solution by changing the referent that Karma Phalatyag from 12.12 does not refer to 12.11. Rather, Karma Phalatyag from 12.12 refers back to 12.10 Mat Karamo Bhava. Mat Karamo Bhava means work for Krishna, and work for Krishna means devotional service. Simultaneously, Abhyas does not refer to devotional service. Rather, Abhyas is a generic term that can refer to any practice. And here you can say karma yoga. So then, based on Srila Prabhupada's brilliant solution, the 12.12 hierarchy, then makes sense that Abhyas at the lowest refers to Karma Yoga. Next level up is Gyan Yoga. Next level up is Ashtanga Yoga. And the highest level, Karma Phala Tyag, refers to work for Krishna, means is devotional service. And in the last part of the chapter, describes the qualities that makes one dear to Krishna. Krishna likes all these qualities in his devotees. A laundry list of about 24 qualities given in these set of verses. Some of these qualities are non-envious, but kind friend to all living entities. Does not think himself the proprietor and is free from false ego. All these verses, they end with such a devotee is very dear to me. So all these qualities, he says, whosoever has these qualities, Krishna says, such a devotee is very dear to me. Next quality is equal in happiness and distress and equal in fear and anxiety. Is tolerant, is always satisfied and self-controlled, engaged in devotional service with determination. Mind and intelligence is fixed on Krishna, for whom no one is put into difficulty and who is not disturbed by anyone. Some qualities are repeated, such as equal in happiness and distress and equal in fear and anxiety, not dependent on ordinary course of activities, who is pure and expert, not striving for some result, neither rejoices nor grieves, neither laments nor desires, who renounces both auspicious and inauspicious things, who is equal to friends and enemies, equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, free from contaminating association, always silent and satisfied with anything, who does not care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge, who is engaged in devotional service. And those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service. The last is who is completely engaged themselves with faith, making Krishna the supreme goal. Such a devotee with all these qualities is very, very dear to Krishna. That's a quick summary of chapter 12. Any questions, comments, realizations? Anybody still has any confusion with that 12.12 or the descending ladder can have an offline discussion with me, including Padma Kumar Prabhu. You are welcome to have an offline discussion with me. All right, so chapter 13, we'll start by hearing from Subhash Prabhu. I'll play his recording. Let's hear.
Hare Krishna to all the devotees. I request permission and blessings from all the devotees, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Parampara, and Sri Sri Radha Krishna to be able to speak on Bhagavad Gita. Please forgive me for my mistakes and any shortcomings. Here I am going to talk on Bhagavad Gita chapter 13 entitled Nature, Enjoy and Consciousness, which Sanskrit name is Prakriti, Purush and Vivek Yoga. So coming in this chapter, Arjuna inquired 6 inquiries to Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. What is Prakriti, matter, nature? What is Purusha, enjoyer of matter? What is Kshetra, field in which one can act? What is Kshetragya, knower of the field? What is Jnanam, 20 processes of knowledge? What is Gyam, the object of knowledge? And also some bonus topics are provided by Krishna regarding Jnana Chakshu at the end. So out of Arjuna's 6 questions, Krishna first answers Arjuna's 3rd and 4th questions about Kshetra and Kshetragya from verse 2 to 7. So what is Kshetra? Kshetra is the field of activities. It means body. So the field in which we do our activities with our senses. and the Kshetragya refers to area of influence over our body. So question comes, why we provided with this body? Because conditioned soul wants to enjoy sense gratification. So this body or this field of activity is provided. Now, going little bit more into description of Kshetra, the field of activity, this body consists of gross and subtle elements, sense and sense objects. The transformation of this field causes happiness and distress, desire and hatred. Field of activity, this body is the aggregate of 24 elements, namely 5 gross elements which we called Mahabhuta, earth, fire, water, air and ether. Then 5 knowledge acquiring senses, Gyanendriyas. They are ears, skin, eyes, nose and tongue. 5 working senses, Karmandriyas, hands, feet, voice, anus, genitals. 5 object of senses, sound, color, touch, smell, taste. And then comes 3 subtle body consisting mind, intelligence, false ego, and 1 is the unmanifested state of the 3 modes of nature called pradhana. And the aggregate of these 24 elements is called the field of activity, Kshetra. Then comes 25th element, soul, 26th super soul. By an analytical study of those 24 elements mentioned, we can understand the field of activity. And like we mentioned before, transformation of this field causes happiness, distress, which shows in our subtle body. Now, the person who do not identify himself with this body is Kshetragya, knower of the field, which is a soul. The knower is different from the body. Prabhupada gives example, I am a man, I am a woman, I am happy. These are all bodily designations, but we are different from this body. Body itself is Kshetra, but who is the owner of the body is Kshetragya. Kshetragya is soul, knower of the field. And there are 2. One is the individual soul, Jivatma, which knows one individual body, which means we are the Kshetragya of our own body only. We are not in knowledge of other bodies. So another is super soul, Paramatma, knower of all field, who knows the body 100% and also all the bodies in 100%. Soul is like the citizens who may know about his patch of land, but the super soul is like the king who knows not only about his palace, but all the properties possessed by the individual citizens. So there are 2 Purusha, us and the Lord. Lord Purusha is enjoyer, but we imagine ourselves to be enjoyers. Krishna is the controller of the field of activities, and also he is the finite enjoyer. So now, Kshetra is the temporary material body, while Kshetragya, the soul, is eternal and non-material. In this world, most of the people focus mostly on the field of activities, like the body, how it works. But we should shift our focus to something higher, to change our whole worldview. When we think the body is the source of pleasure, we remain entangled. We remain limited in this world. But when we see this world as a place of correction and growth, our understanding changes. The bodily field shouldn't be everything. We need to uplift our vision. We need to wake up from our bodily conception of life, and we need to strive to attain the supreme perfection. So now from verse 8, Krishna describes about Arjuna's 5th question, Jnana, and 6th question, Gyam, and which will be described in further presentations. Thank you. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All right, very good. Next is Mansi.
Hare Krishna. I am presenting chapter 30, section 3 and 4. I request permission and blessings from all you devotees, my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, and all the gurus in the disciplic succession, and Sri Sri Radha Krishna to be able to speak on the Bhagavad Gita. Please forgive me for any shortcomings. So, Krishna explains the items of knowledge in the verse 8 to 12. And then the soul and the super soul are explained in the verse 13 to 19. So, the bodily field of activity is not everything. We should uplift our vision. We should wake up from the bodily consciousness and mundane results from the cycle of Bhoga Tyaga. So, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.19 tells about the nature of spiritual pleasure, which is gained by acquiring Param Drashtra. So, here the sage were initially Karmakandi, but very but they dependent but they develop detachment in the association of Roma Harshana. The same way we can also change our field of activities in this life. So this change is possible by cultivating the items of knowledge, and by this one can also judge his advancement in spiritual science. So these item of knowledge, jnana, are described in the verses 8 to 12. The first quality is humility. It means not being proud when to have reason to be proud, and one should not to be anxious about being honored by others. The devotee accepts the results, but devotee does not demand the respect. The next quality is pridelessness. The pride means to be proud when I do not have any reason to be proud. So devotee should not take pride in any circumstances. And the next quality is non-violence. One should try his best to distribute the real knowledge to people so that they become enlightened and leave this material entanglement. So this is the advanced spiritual definition of non-violence. The next is tolerance. It means that one should be practiced to be your insult and dishonor from others. Next is simplicity. It means that without diplomacy, one should be straightforward, that he can disclose the real truth even to the enemy. Next is cleanliness, which is essential for making the advancement in spiritual life. There are two types of cleanliness. One is external and one is internal. So external cleanliness means to taking bath, but for the internal cleanliness, one has to think of Krishna always and chant. Next is steadiness, means that one should be very determined to make progress in spiritual life. The next is false ego, means accepting this body as oneself. When one understands that he is not this body and is spirit soul, then he comes to his real ego. The next is distress. So one should try to understand the distress of accepting birth, death, old age, and disease, which is the cause of suffering. The next is detachment. So as for the detachment from children, wife, and home, it is not meant that one should have not no feeling for them. When they are not favorable in spiritual progress, then one should not to be very much attached to them. Instead, they can make their family as Krishna conscious. The next is happiness and distress are concomitant factors of material life. One should learn to tolerate that. The next is detachment from the general mass of people. So it becomes natural when we comes in the Krishna consciousness. So as far as the next is the self realization. So the self realization is concerned, it is clearly stated here that the bhakti yoga is very practical than other path. The absolute truth notes that the self realized is three different phases as the Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. And the beginning from the practicing humility up to the point of realization of the supreme truth, the absolute personality of Godhead. This process is just like a staircase, beginning from the ground floor and going to the top floor. The top floor, which is the understanding of Krishna. Next, Next, Krishna explains about Jnaya. Jnaya means the object of knowledge or the objects to be known. That object is the super soul. So, in this section, we will understand the knowledge about Atma and Paramatma and the relationship between these two, which brings the liberation. So, the qualities of super soul are described in the verse 13 to 18. The super soul is residing within everyone's heart, and he is everywhere and he knows everything. The super soul is inconceivable. At the same time, he can be known. So, how the super soul is inconceivable? He is the source of all senses, yet he is without senses. He exists outside and inside. Although he is far, far away in the Goloka Vrindavana, but he is also near to all. The super soul appears to be divided among all, yet he is never divided. So this all is very confusing and contradictory. So we can understand this by a material understand by a material sense. That's how sorry, this is all confusing and contradictory. So this cannot be understood by any material senses. This is how he is unconceivable. Now we will see how we can know who is beyond our material senses through the example of moon. So, when there is a moon in the sky, we put a different buckets of water on the floor. So moon get reflected in the same bucket in all the 8 buckets. So moon is the only one, but at the same time, it is not the same when that reflected in the bucket. Now, why it's not the same? Because the potency of the reflection of the moon is non-identical with the potency of the original moon. So reflection of the moon cannot reflect the same way and cannot offer the same warmth. Although this is the material example of the moon and the moon's reflection is just to understand the point. But when it comes to the super soul, the super soul which is explained in which is expanded in all of us has the same potency as the original super soul. So this is how he is beyond the material conception. He is knowledge, he is the object of knowledge, and he is the goal of knowledge. This can be understood by the analogy of doctor. Medical doctor is investigating a patient, which is the object of knowledge, meaning the things about which the knowledge is wanted is patient's body. This is the object. But the goal is not just to get a knowledge about a patient's body. Rather, the goal is to get cured to improve the health of that patient. So here, that's how we can understand the Gaya. And then the next two section will understand the further points. Hare Krishna. Please forgive me for any mistakes.
Right, super excellent. Follow me is next. You should be able to share your screen if you want to.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, everyone. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. I humbly request permission and blessings from all the devotees. Srila Prabhupada, Guru Parampara, Srimati Radharani, and Sri Krishna. I seek your forgiveness for any mistakes and shortcomings. So before we proceed, a quick recap. Chapter 1 to 6 are on how karma leads to bhakti. Chapter 7 to 12 are directly linked to bhakti, and chapter 13 to 18 are how jnana leads to bhakti. So we are now on the jnana section. So chapter 13, the next section, section 5, Krishna talks about the relation of Prakriti and Purusha, the answer to Arjuna's first and second question. Now, when we go to this section, there is a very important verse, 13.22 in this section. Although not a key memorization verse, it is called the seed verse of Bhagavad Gita. It says, Purusha Prakriti Stohi Bhunte Prakriti Jan Guna Karanam Guna Sanga Asya Sad Asad Joni Janmasu. Which means that the living being in material nature lives under the influence of three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance, experiencing them due to association with the material nature and misidentifying own self as the enjoyer, desiring to enjoy material objects. That is the bhunte highlighted, that bhunte mentality. Because of this, it encounters good and evil across the species. So this verse shows that the material existence thrives because of the enjoying mentality of the soul. The enjoying mentality is the seed of the tree of material existence, and the three modes of material existence, they only water that seed and nourish the enjoying mentality of the soul. And this word sango, it means association or attachment to material nature, so that gets the soul entangled under the material nature. The material nature and its modes only carry out this bondage or attachment But the soul's true nature is to serve. Within the body, there is also a transcendental enjoyer, the Lord Himself, the supreme proprietor and overseer known as the Super Soul. Only He can be the supreme enjoyer or Bhoktaram. And the entity who understands material nature, the living being, and the interaction of the modes attain liberation and is not born again, regardless of the present position. So, how does this liberation come? It comes by shifting our mindset from enjoying mentality, that we will enjoy material nature, to devotional service. Means shift from serving our material body senses to serving senses of the Lord. That is being situated in a transcendental position as a soul. So we learn from the seed verse that material modes execute the enjoying mentality of the living beings. In this last section of the verses 27 to 35, Krishna explains Jnana Chakshu, the eyes of knowledge. Anyone who is in a good association can see three things combined together: the material body, the super soul within, who is the transcendental enjoyer, and the individual soul, and that is actually knowledge. The soul and super soul are present within every body and never destroyed. True seeing means recognizing that the body acts through material nature while the soul itself does not act. When we stop identifying with bodily differences and bodily consciousness and see equal spiritual presence in all beings, we rise to higher understanding. By realizing distinction between body and the soul and understanding path out of material bondage, we can attain the supreme goal. And seeing our soul not as the doer, that will grant us liberation by seeing reality as it is, beyond how it appears on the material level. Only once, as I'm aware that I am not the doer in the material achievement, then pride will not be able to come from the material achievement. Then I can stay humble. In the next chapter 14, Sri Krishna discusses the three modes which execute the bondage of the soul to the material nature. Hare Krishna.
Super excellent. Any questions, comments, realizations for the presenters? Follow me, you can please stop sharing. All right, all presenters have done a very good job presenting, and specifically Mansi presenting at a short notice to pick up this chapter 13 presentation. She got message from me today, halfway through the day. Thank you again for your super excellent presentation, as well as all presenters have done a very good job. Let me quickly summarize chapter 13 as well. Chapters 1 to 6 describe how karma leads to bhakti. Chapters 7 to 12 directly talk about bhakti. And chapters 13 to 18 describe how jnana leads to bhakti. Chapter 13 is titled Nature, Enjoyer and Consciousness. In Sanskrit is Prakriti, Purusha, Vivek, Yoga. Verse number 13.22 is among the most important verses in Bhagavad Gita. Is called as the seed verse of Bhagavad Gita, or the BG Vakya, or the seed of material existence. Purusha Pakati Stohi Bhumte Pakati Jangunan Karanam Guna Sango Asya Sad Asad Yoni Janmashu. So the whole material existence is grown on this enjoying mentality of the soul. That Bhumte, the enjoying mentality, is the seed of the tree of material existence. I will also quickly give a flow of chapters 13 to 18 here. So the seed verse or the seed of material existence is 13.22, the Bhumte, enjoying mentality. The tree of material existence as well as the seed is watered by the three modes of material nature for nourishment, which are described in chapter 14. Chapter 15 describes with the metaphor of upside down banyan tree to describe material existence, that everything here is perverted of how originally it is in the spiritual world. And how we need to cut off ourselves from the tree by detachment and determination. So 13.22 verse has the word Sangha. Sangha means association or attachment that gets the soul entangled under Prakriti. And in chapter 15, Krishna describes asanga, means by detachment, one can become free from material entanglement. Chapter 16 describes the upper and lower parts of the tree, meaning the divine and the demoniac nature. These are the two extremes of the tree. Chapter 17 describes the intermediate parts, that people who are not explicitly devoted to God according to scriptures, nor are they brazenly defiant of God. What about them is described in chapter 17. Chapter 18 has a summary of everything, specifically on Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. So at the start of chapter 13, Arjuna inquires from Krishna 6 points: Purusha and Prakriti, Kshetra and Kshetrajna, Jnana and Geyam. Krishna explains Kshetra refers to the field of activity, means our body. Kshetra refers to area of influence. Kshetra is material nature constituted of 24 elements. And attachment, aversion, happiness, and distress are the transformations or changes a kshetra or the body goes through. There are two kshetrajna in the body. Kshetrajna means knower of field. There are two knowers, the Paramatma and the individual Atma. We are kshetrajna of our own body only, and that too partially. We are not kshetrajna of all bodies. Krishna as Paramatma is kshetrajna of all bodies, and that too in 100%. In this chapter, the movie theater example analogy is described of a person watching a movie. That whatever is happening on the movie screen has nothing to do with the person watching the movie. Person watching the movie is like the kshetrajna, and the movie screen is like the kshetra. Changes within the illusory kshetra of the movie screen have an effect leading to desire, distress, happiness to the person watching the movie, meaning the soul. Then Krishna describes jnana, the process of knowledge. Krishna describes 20 qualities. For actual advancement in spiritual science, one should test to see how far he is progressing, and this can be judged by these 20 qualities. While practicing bhakti devotional services, we should make sure that we are developing these qualities. So some of the qualities I'll describe. Very first, very important, is humility. Humility means not being proud even when you have a reason to be proud. Humility means one should not be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. Devotee takes respect, but devotee does not demand respect. Devotee does not expect respect. Not expect respect means devotee does not demand respect while he is doing his services. Devotee is not anxious to get respect. Next is pridelessness. Pride means to be proud when I don't have a reason to be proud. Next quality is non-violence. One should try his best to distribute real knowledge to people so that they may become enlightened and leave this material entanglement. This is real non-violence. Another point is the four problems of life of Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi are just surface problems. Just as a small portion of iceberg is visible, but below the water, iceberg could be very big. Similarly, deeper problem is I don't have all these qualities that Krishna is describing, and my consciousness is attracted to matter rather than to spirit. Unless I have a negative view of this material life, there is no impetus for making spiritual advancement. Next is detachment from children, wife, and home. It is not that one should have no feelings for family. No, we should have feelings. If family members are not devotees, we should see this as an opportunity to practice devotional principles such as humility, tolerance, etc. So devotees should have affection for their family members, but not attachment. The difference between attachment and affection is detachment means lack of excessive emotional entanglement in material things. A perfect example of attachment is Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana. Even when Duryodhana is going on a wrong track and Dhritarashtra allows Duryodhana to continue on the wrong track because Dhritarashtra cannot say no to Duryodhana because of his attachment. If you have affection for your family member, you will correct your family member from going in the wrong direction. Therefore, devotees should have affection for the family member, not attachment. The beginning of all knowledge, all these qualities, is amanitva, means humility. And Krishna says everything apart from all these 20 qualities is ignorance. Material knowledge is required to function in the material world. But material knowledge does not help a person attain liberation. Therefore, material knowledge is not considered jnana from the point of view of jnana of spiritual seeker. Next, Krishna explains Gayam, the object of knowledge. So Mansi very nicely described about Gayam, that Jnana and Gayam are different with the example of the doctor. That the doctor may know some specific parameters about the patient, but the goal is to cure the patient. That is Gayam, the object of knowledge. So in here, contradictory qualities of the Gayam or the absolute truth are described, and the conclusion is Gayam is Avigayam, means the knowable is unknowable. Is described at many places in Bhagavatam also. Brahmaji also says many places. The absolute truth is not knowable. So the Gayam for us is the knowledge of Atma, the knowledge of Paramatma, and the relationship of love between the Atma and Paramatma. This knowledge brings liberation. Then comes the other question about Prakriti and Purusha. So Prakriti is material nature, the matter itself, the Pradhan, is energy of God. Prakriti, the energy, is not temporary, it is eternal. The forms created from matter are temporary, such as our body or table, chair, computer, all these forms, they are temporary. But material nature, Pradhan, the original energy, is eternal. Then Purusha, there are two Purushas in the body. One is Paramatma as overseer and permitter of the Jiva's desire. Paramatma is not caught under Prakriti. And the second is Jiva or the individual Atma within the body. Both Paramatma and Jiva are eternal. The soul becomes entangled, caught under Prakriti because of Bhoktratve and Bhumte. Both have the same meaning. Bhoktratve and Bhumte both mean enjoying mentality. Because of enjoying mentality, the individual soul gets caught under Prakriti. So the purpose of describing all these points in chapter 13 is that one will understand that real life is beyond material existence. Real life is transcendental, means one will understand that whatever I am observing in the material world is just a movie. Beyond movie, I have a real life in the spiritual world. When one understands that one's real life is much more exciting than a movie, then one will stop watching the movie. Means one will not desire to come to the material world to enjoy, rather one will purify and go back home, back to Godhead. The last set of verses, Krishna explains Jnana Chakshu is a bonus section. Jnana Chakshu means eyes of knowledge. This will grant liberation to see reality beyond how it appears at the material level, to see soul as the non-doer. That's a quick summary of chapter 13. Any questions, comments, realizations? All right. Chapter 14, follow me again and then Monarch Prabhu.
Prabhuji, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
It's okay. Yes. Hare Krishna. I'll continue from chapter 13 onwards. We discussed in chapter 13 about the entanglement of the soul to material nature because of the enjoying mentality of the soul. In this chapter 14, Krishna talks about the gunas, modes of material nature that do not cause bondage of the transcendental soul, but they just simply execute the bondage of the soul to the material nature. And recognizing this fact helps to develop seriousness in understanding the three modes. How the modes entangle the transcendental soul, that is explained in this chapter 14, and it has three sections. Section 1, verse 1 to 13, how the soul is conditioned by the modes. Section 2, verse 14 to 18, the effect and conditioning by the modes. And section 3, verses 19 to 27, transcending the modes. So the bondage of the modes is complex and difficult to break free from. In verse 14.5, Krishna says that material nature is the source of birth of all species, and Krishna is the seed-giving father of all living beings. The mechanism in which the modes bind is that they are very subtle forces that shape the interaction between gross matter and consciousness. Hence, one has to perceive the modes through their characteristics, the subtle characteristics. So, goodness is first thinking and then acting. Passion is acting but not much thinking. Ignorance is neither thinking nor acting. Under each of these modes, including goodness, the soul is in enjoying mentality or bhunte. This slide shows that when the eternal soul contacts these modes, they become conditioned by them. How do they become conditioned? So the mode of goodness is purer and illuminating. Out of the two modes, it is more purer, so it brings happiness and knowledge and frees from sinful reactions. The senses get illuminated, so the soul thinks I am knowledgeable, and that is what causes the bondage. The mode of passion arises from hankering and binds the soul to fruitive actions. The mode of ignorance comes from darkness and leads to delusion, madness, laziness, and sleep. This slide shows the outcomes of being under the specific modes. So the mode of goodness can lead to purity, knowledge, and ultimately into higher planets of the demigods. And the mode of passion is driven by desire and attachment to results. So that leads to people who work for material rewards and they remain bound in the cycle of birth and death. The mode of ignorance produces foolishness, illusion, and lack of awareness, and that can lead to degradation and birth in lower species and lower planets. We can understand in which mode we are in. How? By looking at the prominent emotions that we have and the actions that we are prompted to do because of those emotions. And we are all born with a set of modes. It is like a default setting in a mobile or any device that we buy. We have acquired the default modes from our previous life and we can change them if we try. So all the three modes bind, but the mode of goodness is very dangerous because it can make one proud, very proud, and then one can think that I'm superior to others. So out of the three modes, mode of goodness is purer, it is yet a soul is focused on enjoying own senses and does not offer the results to Krishna, the results of actions. And one may overcome temptations of all other anarthas, but they can still walk into the jaws of pride away from humility, being under the mode of goodness. And when that happens, one in the mode of goodness cannot see Krishna the way he is. So then the question becomes, then what exactly can be the solution? And then Krishna says the solution is to stay in the mode of devotional service, to be humble and stay detached from the enjoying mentality of own senses. The mentality to serve the Lord, to please his senses, frees one from all fruitive actions and then to stay humble. Please forgive me for all my mistakes and shortcomings. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Super excellent, Monarch.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Hare Krishna everyone. Requesting permission from all you devotees, Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, and all the Gurus in disciplic succession, and Sri Sri Radha Krishna to be able to speak on Bhagavad Gita. I am presenting chapter 14, section 3, Transcending the Modes. The modes determine the external circumstances we feel, but do not determine our action. We still have our free will, and that free will is conditioned by the modes. We have unlimited free will within the limited framework. This limited framework can be understood simply by the example of horse tied with a small length of rope versus horse tied with a long rope. Horse tied with small length of rope is because it is wild in the past and current life. It is associated with the mode of ignorance, and therefore its framework is limited. Now, horse tied with a long rope, meaning that it is associated with the modes of goodness more, sometimes with the mode of passion and less with the ignorance. Therefore, the horse is gentle and it has unlimited freedom to move within that radius of rope. Now, this length of rope, whether the long or short, meaning how much free will we have, is determined by our past karma, our inclination, and how we have associated with the modes in the past. We can change modes by increasing the composition of higher modes in whatever we are doing on day-to-day basis. By changing the external increasingly to goodness, we can change the modes. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, where Uddhav Gita is explained, Krishna gives 10 items that we can change externally, by which we can effect a change in our internal modes. The first one is water and food. Srila Prabhupada emphasized that we should always take Krishna Prasadam. Second thing is scriptures. Read scriptures, and Srila Prabhupada specifically says to not read non-Krishna conscious book. Just read Krishna conscious books, specifically Srila Prabhupada books. Third one is association. Srila Prabhupada says that we should always stay in association of a pure devotee. The fourth one is the way we are born. Now, we don't have control over that, but we can change this by taking second birth, or in other words, by taking initiation from the bona fide spiritual master. Fifth one is area in which we live. We should always try to stay in close proximity to temple, so that vibration of Gopinath itself is sanctifying. It doesn't mean that we have to move to the temple or close proximity to temple. Instead, we should make our home as a temple, so that 24/7 we can keep in close contact with Gopinath. Sixth one is time of the day. From early morning, before sunrise or just around sunrise time, the mode of goodness is more prevalent. And as the day starts around 8 or 9, depending on the city, everybody starts running up and down for a job or business. The mode of passion is prevalent. And the evening time, when everybody is returning home, wanting to enjoy television, mobile phone, or senses, the mode of ignorance is prevalent. So we should always wake up early in the morning when the mode of goodness is prevalent, to benefit ourselves. And what Srila Prabhupada is saying, that we should wake up early in the morning so that we can complete our daily sadhana. Seventh is karma, or the kind of activity we do. The eighth one is mantra, to chant. That means we should chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is the Yuga Dharma of this Kali Yuga. Ninth one is dhyana. This is our constant thought process, what we are thinking. We should constantly think about Krishna and Krishna's service, Krishna's words. Remember the verses, pastimes of Krishna and the qualities. 10th one is samskar, kind of impression we carry in our mind. When we go on some festival or pilgrimage, or we hear about Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam lecture, we should try to carry those impressions so that we can remember Krishna all the time. Now, important thing is that we should be observer of our own thought or the inner world. By default, we observe outer world around us. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita is advising us to observe our inner world as well. At this point, Arjuna inquires how to transcend the modes, and Krishna states that situate yourself in the fourth mode. And that fourth mode is devotional service. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 14.26 that Mamcha yo vicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahma. Now, by practicing bhakti, our free will is strengthened to the capacity to counter push the modes. All three modes, including goodness, passion, and ignorance, binds a person. But the mode of goodness is very, very dangerous because I become very proud. The pride is that I am superior to others, and this is simply an illusion. Pride is a sneaky enemy of a person. One may overcome temptation of all other anarthas and walk into the joys of pride. So we may think we won the war, but in reality, we lost. So the question becomes what exactly the solution is? And the answer is to stay humble, detached, and stay service oriented. That's the quick summary of the chapter 14, section 3. Please forgive me for any shortcoming or mistake. Hare Krishna.
Super excellent. Any questions, comments, realizations for the presenters? Yes, correct. All presentations today were so very well done. I can visualize that all of you are listening the classes and the recordings with rapt attention, and therefore you are able to explain in your own words. You are all spectacular. So let me also quickly summarize chapter 14, although Polami and Monarch Prabhus have already done also a good job like the other presenters. So chapter 14 is titled Modes of Material Nature. In Sanskrit is Guna Traya Vibhaga Yoga. Modes are the mechanism by which soul is bound, but the modes are not the cause. The cause is soul's bhungte, or the soul's enjoying mentality, the desire to enjoy in material world. The bondage is executed through the modes. Chapter 14 analyzes that bondage of the modes is very complex and very difficult to break free from. Only solution is by taking shelter of Krishna, one can get free from the modes. At the start of chapter 14, in verse 4, Krishna says, all living beings are manifested by the grace of the Supreme Lord because he is the seed-giving Father. Now, how do the modes bind? Modes are the subtle forces that shape the interaction between gross matter and consciousness. Modes are subtle things, not gross things, but subtle. And being subtle, modes are to be perceived through their characteristics. The influence of the modes on people makes them to react differently to a situation or event. A fire example, some run in panic because passion is influencing them. Some freeze because ignorance is influencing them. Some may call the fire department or find an extinguisher because mode of goodness is influencing them. So everybody is at the same place, at the same fire event, but different modes are influencing different people. So based on the characteristics or the actions of the various modes, you will recognize you are under which mode. The characteristics are goodness is thinking first and then acting. Passion is acting without a lot of thinking. Ignorance is neither thinking nor acting. Goodness among the three modes is purer, illuminates the 9 gates or the senses of the body with knowledge, frees one from sinful reactions because the senses get illuminated. Means person knows what should be done and what should not be done, how to act, how to not act. Soul thinks, I am knowledgeable, clever, and superior to others. This also causes bondage. The destination upon death When somebody is in goodness, he attains pure higher planets of the sages. Passion is comprised of attachment to what one has and what one does not have, produced of hankering. Therefore, one is bound by fruitative activities, resulting in misery and greed. The destination upon death for somebody in passion is attains earthly planets. Ignorance is born out of ignorance. Ignorance is a vicious cycle, deludes everyone, binds with madness, sleep. Destination upon death in ignorance is birth in lower species and lower planets. So question is, how can we understand which mode we are in? The answer is by looking at the prominent emotions that we are having and the actions that we are prompted to do. So we are born with the modes. Modes are like the default settings, just as there is a default ringtone, say in a new cell phone that you buy or whatever the default settings be. Similarly, we all have certain default settings, means default modes we have acquired from previous lives. Every situation we encounter, we choose the mode of goodness more and more. Otherwise, we will act according to the default setting in our body. The modes determine the external circumstances we face, but the modes do not determine our behavior. We still have the capacity to choose. We always have free will. Our free will is conditioned by the modes. We have unlimited freedom within a limited framework. Limited framework means, example, say a horse is tied to a small length of rope versus a gentle horse is tied to a longer length of rope. This shorter length or longer length of rope, meaning how much free will we have, is determined by our past karma, our past inclinations, as well as current inclinations. We can change the modes by increasing the composition of higher modes in whatever we are doing on a day-to-day basis. By changing the externals more and more towards goodness, we can change the internal modes. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11 in Uddhav Gita, Krishna gives 10 items that we can change externally by which we can effect a change on the internal modes. First is food and water. Srila Prabhupada says always take Krishna Prasadam. Second is scriptures. Read scriptures. Srila Prabhupada specifically said not to read non-Krishna conscious books, just read Srila Prabhupada's scriptures. Third is association. Srila Prabhupada said always stay in association of devotees. Fourth is the way we are born. We cannot change the way we are born, but we can change this by taking second initiation, or taking second birth by getting initiated from a bona fide spiritual master. Fifth is the area in which we live in. If we stay in proximity of temple, the vibrations of Gopinath is itself sanctifying. So we do not, all of us have to move to the temple or Vrindavan. Rather, we have to make our home as temple. We have to make our home as Vrindavan by having a small temple, Gopinath, offering bhoga, worship, inviting devotees at home, doing kirtan, serving prasadam. This way we'll be in temple environment 24 hours together with Gopinath. Sixth is time of the day. From early morning During Brahma Muhurta period, before sunrise, is mode of goodness is more prevalent. From 8, 9, or some places even earlier, when people start going to work, the mode of passion starts influencing. And evening time, when everybody is returning back home and at home, wanting to enjoy with family or own self, the senses or everything, mode of ignorance is prevalent more. So if we wake up early and are alert during mode of goodness time, we do our sadhana during that time, then we can benefit. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada has the morning program. Wake up early. Sixth is the karma that we do, the kind of activities. Eighth is the mantra we chant. So always chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Ninth is dhyana, means is our constant thought process. What are we thinking constantly? We should always think of Krishna, Krishna's services, devotees of Krishna. 10th is the samskara, means the kind of impressions we carry in our mind. Say when we go to yatra or festivals, or we hear some beautiful Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam classes, we should take notes and carry all these impressions. Very important that one should become observer of our own inner thoughts, our inner world. So by default, we observe the world around us, outside. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita is telling us to observe our internal world also, so that we can transform. After hearing with rapt attention about the modes, that how difficult it is to transcend the modes, Arjuna inquires, how to transcend the modes? Krishna will state the fourth mode as the solution. Fourth mode is devotional service. By practice of bhakti, our free will is strengthened in our capacity to counter push the modes. All the three modes bind, but the mode of goodness is the most dangerous mode, because I may become proud that I am superior to others. But such pride is just another illusion. Pride is a very sneaky enemy. One may overcome the temptations of the senses and the mind and still walk into the jaws of pride. You think you won the war, but you still lost. So the question is, what is the solution? We keep saying throughout our Bhagavad Gita study that we have to situate on goodness. And now we are saying goodness is the most dangerous mode. So what's the solution? So yes, we have to live a life of goodness initially. But then we have to transcend goodness also. The solution is that we have to stay humble, and we have to stay detached, and we have to stay service oriented. Then we will not be caught by the mode of goodness also. That's a quick summary of chapter 14, questions, comments, realizations. All right, so we are caught up on our revisions. So next week, as you can see on the schedule on the screen, we'll be revising chapters 15 and 16. So we have Ritu, Monarch for chapter 15, and Shreyanshi and Riya Prabhus for chapter 16 presentation. So there are few slots left for presentation, they're highlighted in green. I request all of you to please pick the opportunity and grab it to do some additional presentation for your fine tuning. All right. Let's cover few Bhagavad Gita verses. You're going to get a mandatory spiritual endeavor, the last spiritual endeavor in our Bhagavad Gita discussion. So we are on chapter 18. I will cover verses 61 to 63. So we are on section 6. Section 6 is verses 56 to 78, titled Bhakti Yoga, where the glory of Bhakti Yoga is described. Section 6 has various subsections, and subsection 2 is verses 61 to 63. Title is More Confidential Knowledge, Surrender to the Super Soul. So if we all have our nature, and if we simply act according to nature, then is nature the supreme? The answer is no. Krishna will describe that above nature is Ishvara, the Supreme Lord. So verse number 61 is a key memorization verse. I will recite verse 61 and then you all can unmute and recite one line after me, please. So 18.61, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hriday Deshe Arjuna Tishtiti Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani Yantra Arudhani Mayayaya. Everybody unmute and recite one line after me, please. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam
Ishvara Sarvabhutanam
Hriday Deshe Arjuna Tishtati
Hridayeshu
Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani
Brahmayan Sarvabhutani
Yantra Arudhani Mayayaya.
Yantarudhani
Very good. Naresh Prabhu, translation.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, sorry, it was which one?
1861.
1861. Okay. Chapter 1861. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart. O Arjuna, and is directing the wandering of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy.
So Ishvara is situated in all living beings. All entities are wandering in material existence. So here's a question for all of you. Everybody try to answer. Is traveling and wandering same or different? Everybody please answer quickly.
Different.
Okay, rest of you.
Different.
Different, Prabhuji.
It's different.
All right. Okay. Padma Kumar is the only unique one saying same. Both are same. All right. So yes, traveling and wandering is different. Traveling means purposeful travel. Example, devotees travel to Vrindavan, Mayapur, or holy dhams. So they have a purpose. Wandering means is aimless. They're just wandering here and there. So in 18.61, yantra refers to body. And the soul is using this yantra. Or yantra is not conscious. yantra or the body is made of certain components for a particular function, and they work according to particular laws. So the body is like a machine. So yantra means a machine. Body is a machine. The body also does function like a machine. But body is not alone. There is also the conscious soul. The soul affects the functioning of the body through its desires. Without the soul, the body cannot function. The body cannot grow. So you would note that sometimes, say a child is born dead. So the child's body does not grow. Why? Because the soul is not there. It's when the soul is there is when the body is active and is when the body grows. So there are a couple of questions here. Now, is the Lord making the living entities to travel? And is the Lord sending the living entities to either enjoy or suffer? The answer is that we all have free will. And Lord does not cause us to come to material world. We ourselves chose to come to the material world. So now, what is the implication of this verse? So we have discussed earlier how things happen, that the soul desires, Ishvara sanctions, and Prakriti executes. And the fourth item is the senses and the endeavor itself. These are the 5 items required for any endeavor to happen in the material world. So when we say the Lord causes the living entity to wander, means the Lord sanctions the desires and provides the facilities for the soul to move according to his desires. Living entities are directed by the Supreme Lord. Does not mean living entities are puppets. Rather, living entities act according to their free will, but are overall supervised by the Supreme Lord. So we all have been given our kshetra, our jurisdiction, and the Lord directs the wandering of the living entities according to the desires of the living entities. Questions, comments, realizations? So in 18.61, Krishna is saying that living entity and material nature is controlled by Supreme Lord. Therefore, in 18.62, Krishna will say to surrender to the Supreme Lord, then you will be able to attain auspiciousness. Riya 62 translation.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Verse 62. O scion of Bharata, surrender unto him utterly. By his grace you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode. Hare Krishna.
So surrender unto that Supreme Lord. So Krishna is referring to Paramatma. By mercy of the Lord situated in the heart, you will attain supreme peace. So in the war, Arjuna has to choose Shanti and Sthana. Shanti means peace and Sthana means resting place. So Sthana can refer to a kingdom. Now Arjuna has to choose that if Arjuna wins, Arjuna will get the Sthana of the kingdom. But then Arjuna will not get Shanti because Arjuna has to fight and kill his loving relatives. Or if Arjuna wants Shanti, then Arjuna will have to sacrifice sthana. So Krishna is saying that if you surrender to me, then you will get both sthana and shanti. Without surrendering to Krishna, if Arjuna acts independently, then Arjuna will only get one of the items, either shanti or sthana. But here Krishna is saying that if you surrender to me, you will get both shanti and sthana. Plus, you will get both shanti and sthana in the best possible way, meaning you will get higher peace and higher sthana, meaning you will get param shanti and shashvatam sthana if you surrender to Krishna. So after describing in this way, Krishna says you should surrender. And then what happens next is in 18.63 that you use your free will. So this is the last verse we're going to discuss today, and I'm going to give you a mandatory spiritual endeavor, the last spiritual endeavor in our Bhagavad Gita, for which you all already know the answer. Let's have some fun as the last component. Lalita, 18.63 translation.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thus I have explained to you knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do. Hare Krishna.
So Krishna says, I have spoken this knowledge to you. This is confidential and more confidential knowledge. Krishna says, Asheshena means meditate. Contemplate thoroughly, deeply on this. Don't leave any stone unturned. And then, as is your desire, you act. So here's a very important verse that Bhagavad Gita does not hand down commandments. Rather, Bhagavad Gita gives choices. So Bhagavad Gita is telling to Arjuna and through Arjuna to all of us, Bhagavad Gita's message is act for the pleasure of Krishna. Act for the pleasure of Krishna is indirectly mentioned in 18.62 also. But Bhagavad Gita does not impose this message on anyone dogmatically. So what Bhagavad Gita says is that this is what I have told you. If this makes sense, act accordingly. If this does not make sense, then you have the free will and you can choose how you want to act. So this freedom that we all have, the free will that we all have, Krishna never takes this away. Krishna always offers us freedom of how we should act. So Bhagavad Gita has detailed descriptions of the various permutation combinations that one can go through and the results that one attains through those various permutation combinations. Krishna does not impose any of those. Krishna says, I have explained to you everything. I have explained to you what is under the modes, what is demoniac, what is above the modes, which is bhakti yoga. You have free will. Now you choose what you want, because I have simultaneously also described the destinations of all these various paths. Questions, comments, realizations before I give you spiritual endeavor?
Prabhuji, just a realization that as the last verse that we discussed, that Krishna gives us the choice. I think this is the only religion where any commandments or any orders are not like, forced down our throat, and like we are given a choice on what to follow and what not to follow.
Absolutely correct, and very good realization. Yes. So if you read Bible, they will give you, here are the commandments, thou shall not kill. Although they don't follow it properly, but you are very correct that Bhagavad Gita is not a book of commandments. Rather, Bhagavad Gita is a book of choice and is exactly demonstrated in 18.63 by Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna himself. Very good. Rest of you? So, I said, let's have some fun. So here's a mandatory spiritual endeavor question for which you already know the answer. I will also say what the answer is. So if you look at the verses that we covered, 61 to 63, which is titled More Confidential Knowledge. You have it on the screen also, right? And in 63, up to 63, Krishna has given the more confidential knowledge, confidential and more confidential knowledge. And Krishna asks Arjuna to make a choice. But the next verses, the last instruction of Krishna, which comes in 65 and 66 in chapter 18, is the most confidential knowledge. So the question is, why would Krishna ask Arjuna to make a decision in 18.63 and then give the most confidential knowledge? Should Krishna not have asked the question for Arjuna to make a decision after giving 65 and 66 the most confidential knowledge? Why is Krishna asking Arjuna to make a decision in 18.63 when Krishna has not yet spoken the most confidential knowledge? Everybody understands the question? Yes, no, silence. Somebody?
Prabhuji, I am so confused. Like my mind is like so baffled right now.
All right. So do you understand the question, or you are the problem with the...
I don't understand.
Okay. So let me repeat the question. Okay. Everybody have undivided attention. So up to what you have also on the screen as the subsection divisions. So up to 18.63 in Bhagavad Gita is the confidential and most confidential knowledge. And Krishna asked Arjuna in 18.63, I have told you everything. Now you make a decision. You use your free will. But then comes the most confidential knowledge in Bhagavad Gita in 18.65 and 66. So the question is, why would Krishna ask Arjuna to make a decision in 18.63 without giving the most confidential knowledge? Deepa, everybody?
I'm thinking, Prabhuji.
Okay, so all of you already know the answer. The answer being, I don't know the answer. Am I correct?
That's so true.
So what have we learned about this? All of you should know. We have also revised the whole Bhagavad Gita. What have we learned if I don't know the answer?
Meditate on the verses
Okay.
and question.
Okay, that one way. What else have we learned? Okay, Paulam is correct. Consult Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Okay, very good. Right, so this is your absolute last question last spiritual endeavor in Bhagavad Gita. Meditate, consult, and I'm hoping we had some fun today. Everybody enjoyed the question. At least Deepa did, although she said mind was circling. Everybody, you enjoyed? Yes, no?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
All right. So as I said at the start, that on Sunday, the clocks go ahead 1 hour in Toronto. So those who are in India and Nepal, it will become slightly odd for you that you have to wake up even 1 hour early. So I request, as well as for Ria also will become 1 hour early. So I request all of you, at least in India and Nepal, it's an odd time, that you please tolerate for the next 2 classes. We will finish Bhagavad Gita in the next 2 classes. And we will change the time when we start Nectar of Instruction. From 27 March, we will start Nectar of Instruction, and I will explain a new process where you'll be listening to class recordings before coming to the class, and our classes will be very practice oriented for how to practice. So we'll change the time from 27 March to 9 p.m. Toronto time. Will become slightly reasonable time for those in India, Nepal at least. And our class length will also shrink depending on number of inquiries. So it will become easier for those in Toronto and around area also. So we'll go from there. You should all get the books that you have on the screen from Nectar of Instruction onwards. So the plan is that from 27 March, we will start Nectar of Instruction. At the last class of Bhagavad Gita, 2 classes from now, I will explain the process that we'll follow. Then mid-May, with Nectar of Devotion will start. Both Nectar of Instruction will be 10 classes, Nectar of Devotion 10 classes. Mid-August, Ch11. Ch11 is a very tiny book, some 80-90 pages, but it is heavier than Bhagavad Gita. We'll cover in 4 classes. Then from mid-September, Srimad Bhagavatam will start. So those of you who are in the catch-up of Bhagavad Gita, I request you to please have an offline discussion with me as to what you can or what is possible for you. So at least I see Lalita is in the catch-up mode, and Shreyanshi also has few. There are a few others also. So have an offline discussion with me, and we can discuss what is appropriate for you all. Any questions, comments, realizations? Shruti?
So, Prabhuji, so completing the Bhagavad Gita is prerequisite for next classes?
So Nectar of Instruction and Nectar of Devotion are the practice of Bhagavad Gita. So obviously you would want to know the basic, what are you practicing? Otherwise it's kind of little difficult to practice.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Okay, we are just about at 10:30 p.m. Toronto time. We'll stop here. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.